Welcome to Hearts and Stripes, your one-stop shop for all things military marriage. I hope our discussions and interviews equip you with the tools to start or grow a beautiful marriage as we address the benefits and challenges of MILF marriage. I believe life's most precious moments are worth celebrating, so I'll help you design your marriage blueprint in alignment with your core values. Thank you for joining us, and remember to rate, subscribe, and review. Let's do this. Hey everyone, it's Bree. Thank you so much for being here and listening to Hearts and Stripes. Today's interview I pulled out. It is actually an interview that I done a while back. You'll hear from Steve Schmitt. He is an 18-year plus military spouse, veteran in this thing. If you notice by the name, he is in that uncommon category of being a male military spouse. I hope his words of wisdom and his unique perspective kind of give you a little something different today. I like to mix things up a little bit. And also, I thought one of his tips, which you'll find out as you EYS later on, why I pulled it forward, but his tip was very valuable to what we are dealing with now. And it is all about attitude and perspective. So without further ado, let me kick it on over to Steve. All right, everybody, we are going to jump into Hearts and Stripes. Today's Heart to Heart is something very special for everybody out there. We have Steve, who actually is better known as Mr. Army Wife. Steve, say hello to everyone.
Hi, everybody. How you doing?
Yeah, thanks so much for being here with us. So if you could, just share a little bit about yourself. How long have you guys been married? How did you meet? You know, the love story, all that good stuff.
Yeah, so Heather and I are pretty unique as a military couple. We actually met in 1992 as freshmen in college, and we were enemies and then frenemies and then friends and then started dating and got engaged pretty quick after that. And 8 years after we met, we got married. And then about a year after that, we both joined the Army in May of 2001 in order to pay off student loans. And that was basically our big selling point for the Army. And after 4 years of active duty enlisted, I decided to get out of the Army, and my wife decided she was going to stay in the Army and go to through officer candidate school. So I was a military spouse as a soldier for 4 years, and I've been a military spouse as just a spouse for 14 and a half years. So we've been married for 19 and a half years, and we've been in the Army for 18 and a half years.
That is awesome. So tons of perspective you're bringing from a mil-to-mil side and then also as a spouse. So that's great.
Yeah, both sides. And we learned a lot about our marriage and about each other, both when we were both in the Army and then definitely once we kind of switched gender roles, I guess you could say. Still,
yeah.
Back in 2005, it wasn't very common for that. It's become a lot more common now, but it wasn't really that common back then. And, a lot of people looked at us like we were weird and strange, some family members included.
Yeah. So most people, the elephant in the room here, most people think military spouses are all females. And that's just not true. Like, I know some amazing spouses who happen to be male. So it's just changing. I think people just think of the days of old and have that limited perspective. But, what have been some of your experiences as as Mr. Army Wife?
I think that part of the reason why there's still kind of that thought that most or all spouses are female is because most men as spouses still have their own careers. They're still moving forward in that job sense where they're trying to be the breadwinner. And for me, that was really different. I got out of the Army and I did hold a couple of other jobs, but when my wife became a company commander, I started getting involved in the FRG and things like that. And it was just easier for us, not for everybody, but it was easier for us for me not to have a job, to be available when she wanted me to come to events or to be available to other spouses when they needed help and things like that. So I think one of the main things that is different for me as a male spouse is that most of my friends are females. I hang out with a lot of females. I do a lot of coffee in the mornings with my friends that are, female spouses and their little ones a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I is just a perspective that I have. I love it. I have always been someone who is more comfortable around female friends. And so for me, it's just a lot of fun. And I don't know of a lot of guys that do that, even male spouses. There are a few of us out there that have that, but
you've embraced it,
me,
and that's a great thing.
Right. And I think that, I kind of am very honest with them too. So if their husband says something to them and they don't quite understand it, I'll give them a male perspective on it. And I'm not really scared to say, so your husband said he doesn't want a cake for his birthday, and yet you got him a cake for his birthday. Why did you get him a cake? Well, because he really wants a cake. No, he doesn't. He said he didn't want a cake. Like, that's how communication works. And, sometimes they don't believe me. But yeah, I guess my experience is just one of those unique things where I can add perspective, and they can add perspective to my life as well. And so I love getting the female perspective that I might not have gotten otherwise.
Yeah, and I absolutely want to circle back to something that you noted. You said that you held several other jobs, but it just worked better for you guys, for you not to have a job and to be available. And I think one of the major takeaways in that statement for me is you acknowledge the importance of the role that you had, because it's a leadership role. And I think a lot of times spouses kind of like glaze over that thought process. They think like, oh, I just stayed home because I have to, as if it's a bad thing. But you really stepped up and chose not to work so that you could be available and lead in a way that you couldn't lead if you held the position.
Yeah, and I think that one of the things that I embrace, so I tell this story all the time that at our 10-year anniversary, Heather was deployed, and I decided that I was going to buy us a king-size bed for our 10-year anniversary. And we have 2 dogs, and she likes the dogs to cuddle in the bed, and I'm whatever, okay, that's fine. But I didn't want to do it on a queen-size bed anymore. I wanted my space, and so I got us a king-size bed while she was deployed. And I decided that when I got this king-size bed, I was going to make the bed every day. Like, that was the one thing I was going to do. I was going to make the bed every day. And I don't know why, but over the course of getting in the habit of making the bed, I got into the habit of cleaning the bathroom, and then I got into the habit of vacuuming the floors, to the point where I actually started to be a house husband in the traditional sense of a housewife or a house, of a person that does all of the housework. And for us, it just works so much better because she can focus on work. She doesn't have to worry about the fact that she's going to come home and dinner's not going to be ready, or she's going to come home and have to do laundry or anything like that. She can focus on her job, and I will make sure that everything else is at home is okay. And that was my role. And then once I was able to do that, I was able to start working with volunteering on post. I've volunteered on post at museums. I've worked in community theaters and things like that. And so all of that kind of fits in to embracing this lifestyle that we have as a military couple. And it helps our marriage so much more because I'm not worried about what my career is going to look like versus what her career has to look like.
Right. It's a team effort. You guys work well together, and that's awesome.
We do. We often say we're not perfect, but we're the perfect team, and I think that is really where this fits into that. Yeah,
that is fantastic. I love that. Love everything about that. Even as female spouses, take note of that. Assert yourself, take on the role, do the things that make you a great team player and be a part of that perfect team. I think that you couldn't have said it any better. That was awesome. So moving forward, I'm sure you have some tips for us. What are maybe 3 tips you might have to building strong military marriages?
Yeah, I think the first thing is I found myself at one point losing my autonomy.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people, and I almost hate to say this, but I think it's true of females more than males. A lot of females consider their soldier or their husband or their children to be their whole world and their whole life. And I had to take a step back from that, and I really thought about that. And we were still put on this earth for a purpose that is just ours. I believe that. I believe that. So don't count on your soldier to be your whole world, to complete you 100%, because you are still here for a reason that is bigger than yourself or your family. I believe that. So just because you're married to a soldier doesn't mean you don't have a purpose in this life as well. Continue to chase your dreams, even if you have to find new ways to do it. And we do as military spouses.
Yes.
Sometimes chasing our dreams doesn't look the same. I'm a community theater nerd. I love doing musicals and things, but moving around and having to audition for new people all the time is kind of hard. It can be frustrating. You think you're ready for a role, but they don't know you. And so they're not willing to give you the role that you want because they don't know that you're on time every day and that you'll always be where you're supposed to be. So that can be frustrating.
Yeah.
But you still got to chase your dreams. I think the second thing is that everything comes down to our attitudes. Everything that we see in this world, that we react to in this world, comes down to our attitudes. If you have a bad attitude about your PCS move or about a duty station that he or she's getting assigned to, or an assignment, oh my gosh, he's going to be a recruiter, or he's going to be a drill sergeant, or he's going to Fort Drum, or whatever it is. If you put it into your head that it's going to suck, then you're right. It's going to suck because you've already put it into the universe that way. And that affects your marriage. If you're not happy, if you're depressed where you are, and I get that sometimes we are just going to have those emotions, but if you are constantly just complaining about everything, about where you are and everything, it's going to affect your soldier. It's going to affect how they go about their job. It's going to affect their attitude too. So
true.
Look for the positive. And I don't care where you are, there are always positives. And I say this more to my wife than anything else. The most positive things we have found at any duty station, no matter where we are, no matter what her job is the relationships that we've made with the other people that we have met there.
Yeah.
And I think about that all the time. I think about, man, this place really wasn't the best place to be, but I met so many awesome people while we were there that I wouldn't have met if we had gone somewhere we had wanted to go.
And that's so valuable. That is so valuable. Yeah.
Yeah. And, and that, again, that will affect your marriage. If you meet and make great relationships with other people, then your marriage is going to have, it can only help your marriage. So that's one thing I say. And then I always say, be flexible. Your soldier's career is always in flux. You never know when an opportunity is going to come up for them that will, maybe be a make or break moment in their career. And if it's something where they have to move fast or they have to go TDY or deployment or whatever it is, and you just get that, no, don't do it. I want you to be here. Or I want us to do what we can do to stay stable or whatever. That there's a time and a place for that, but be flexible sometimes. At least have the discussion. Don't put it in your mind immediately that you're going to be rigid and not at least have a discussion about it.
That is, those 3 takeaways are just so key. I think you hit the nail right on the head. You're absolutely right. We have to be our own people, chase our own dreams, have our own purpose. And you're absolutely right. As we grow and we live out our purposes, we become more valuable to that team, that perfect team that you were talking about earlier. So I completely agree. Attitude is definitely everything.
Oh, absolutely.
And if a military spouse is not flexible, I don't know what you're doing. You're doing something wrong.
They're not going to be a military spouse for very long. I think that's one thing that we've seen, whether it be that they're their soldier gets out of the Army, or, the other bad thing happens. I don't even want to mention it, but yeah, I mean, we've seen it. I've been around for, 18 and a half years. I've seen the good, I've seen the bad, and this life is not for everyone. It's just, I believe that everyone could do it if put into a situation where they had to, but it's not something for everyone, especially not career long, 20 plus years. That's a whole different animal, but it's been the most rewarding thing I could have never realized I would have been doing. Cause I don't think I grew up saying, I want to be a milspouse when I grow up.
Right.
I don't think that's something that I even considered a possibility when I was getting into college, and even when I got married, 6 months after I got married, I never thought that would be the case. But it's been amazing.
Yeah. You enjoy the ride, you go for it. And I love, like you said, you jump all the way in, you commit, you invest in it, and you're doing an amazing job. There's so
Absolutely.
much people can learn from you and your experience. If people have questions or want to get in touch with you, connect with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
They can find me on Facebook, Mr. Army Wife, Instagram, same thing, Mr. Army Wife, or my email is Mr., which is spelled out, MISTER, armywife@gmail.com. Those are the best ways to get a hold of me. I'm pretty much always on Facebook and Instagram. Or they can go to my website, MrArmyWife.com, which is spelled out as well. And I'm in the process of updating that and putting up some more content and new content. So that's it. And I would say, I want to learn from them too, because I'm never going to stop learning as long as I'm in this phase of my life. I'm in the Spouses Club here at Fort Knox, and that's a great place to meet people and to learn more about how to cope with a lot of the issues that we have.
That's awesome. I'll make sure to link all of that, all your contact information in the show notes, especially that link to the website. Thank you so much for taking some time and sharing with us. This has been an amazing heart-to-heart, and I just appreciate you being here. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Awesome.
Anytime.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This podcast is sponsored by B. Carroll Events for wedding and event planning and design. Okay, everybody, you know what time it is. It is time to EYS. That's right, we are earning our stripes. And now, more than ever, is a great time to listen to Steve's tip number 2, which is all about attitude. That's right, we're doing an attitude check. How are you guys right now with your attitudes? Are you looking for those positives, or are you being that Debbie Downer and looking at the negatives? I know we are quarantined. Our plans are all messed up. We're uncertain about PCSs and returns and deployments and different things going on that have been affected by COVID-19. But we do have control of our attitudes. Let's EYS. Let's take control of our attitudes. I want you guys to look around and find some reasons to just stay positive, to find that silver lining. Let's go. You got this. Let's do it together. Thank you for tuning in. Remember to rate, subscribe, and review. This is Hearts and Stripes. We are the few and the proud that aim high and are forged by love. Born ready. We are Mill Marriage Strong.